Welcome once again to our Sage Intacct quarterly release webinar. This is our release 3 for 2024 here at Sensiba. We do this every quarter, and I'm happy to be here and show you some of the features today. If you don't know us, I'm Tom Aker. I am the director of the Sage Intacct practice here at Sensiba, and I've been working with Sage Intacct for over 10 years, so that's a lot of quarterly releases, but every release has something special. So we have gone through and cherry-picked a few for our specific client needs. And again, very happy to be here with you today. And I got Michael with me here too.
Yep, and I am Michael Sudbury, Senior Systems Implementation Specialist at Sensiba, and I've also been working with Sage Intacct for quite some time. First on the client side, and then now implementing the product. And I always get excited to see what new features that we're going to see on each of these quarterly releases. So as Tom was alluding to, this is not an exhaustive list of all the features, but some features that we wanted to pick out and highlight for our clients. So we do have new enhancements for the contracts module, and then also contracts dimension. Automated PO matching is now in the earlier adopter stage of the AP automation tool. Accounts payable has some very exciting new features in credits. Usage insights, which is a new report in Sage that will give you insight into your system usage. But it's also a very useful tool for making decisions and having some system assuredness. DCAM enhanced email delivery protocol, the new availability of that. View original source documents in purchasing and order entry. So this is going to allow you to see where those documents are coming from. And then also user roles and permissions. So let's jump off with the contracts. Now in the contracts module, if you are managing the schedules, you have the availability to bulk pause and resume contracts. So that is something that can save you a lot of time if there's something going on with your contract scheduling, and say maybe at mass you had to pause some of them, or start them back up. You're going to be able to do that in a bulk status now, rather than having to do each of those manually. So that's something that, if you're really contracts deep, could save you a ton of time should anything happen with your scheduling of contracts. So very excited to see that. I'm always excited to see anything in Sage that will save the end user time, because that's what's really most valuable. And then also, now if you have the revenue management, you get the contracts dimension as well. So that's very exciting to see, because if we need to view any of that on a financial report, it's going to be tracked. It's a dimension now. So I have an example on the next slide here. If I had revenue management and I was concerned with tracking my revenue by contract, and I wanted to see that directly on my P&L, now I have the ability to do that. The contracts dimension is there for me. So that's a very cool feature, that if you already have revenue management, or if revenue management was something you're considering, this is just that added bonus now that you have the contracts module available to you, contracts dimension available to you.
Yeah, I think that'll be really helpful because as a dimension, of course, you can group them, you can use them in the same way that you use other dimensions for your financial reports. So that'll be a great asset to our revenue management customers. In the AP area, of course, Sage has been continually releasing more functionality in AP bill automation. And that is now the AP bill automation, which had been an early adopter, and then it was in general accessibility or availability for the US, is now available through all global regions for Sage. So AP automation is it's there, and you can ask us for help on turning that on and bringing that up into your process. And then there's also, if you're already subscribed to AP bill automation, now you can be an early adopter for PO matching. So if you have both the AP bill automation and you have purchasing workflows in use, you can asked to become an early adopter, that is like a beta tester for matching those POs using that AI automation. So again, we're training the machine learning models to do this better and better, and so it helps you and it helps the system to sign up for that early adopter program.
Yeah, and I think it is worth noting that the AP bill automation, that is something that there is a fee for, a small fee per bill. But, once again, time saved. I think you can imagine, depending on the quantity of invoices and bills, could be worth it.
Yeah. And then this is something that came from ideas posted in the community, and I've certainly had experience where customers with a lot of AP bills and payments and credits coming through have wanted to be able to unapply credits that were applied in a posted payment on their AP bill. So that is now available directly from the posted payments list, which is very convenient. And then as a part of that, then if we go to the next slide, if you go into viewing a payment, a posted payment, you can go to a tab and see exactly which credits were applied to that payment, which was a little hard to drill down to previously. So this is a great help to those customers. You know who you are, who have a lot of bills, payments, and credits applied.
I mean, that is super useful. If you ever have gone through the process of trying to reconcile what you have in your books versus what the vendor may have, it can be a nightmare depending on quantity. So this is just going to make looking that up so much easier. And just from a user standpoint, like just being able to unapply a credit easily is a very welcome feature. And then also now we have the new usage insight report. This is going to help you make a lot of operational decisions on system usage. So the overview screen, and this is like a dashboard. The overview screen is going to tell you things about your system. So like active customers, active vendors, your location, your user count. So it lets you know how you're growing in the system. One of the tabs that I really like is the API usage. This is something that we've had before, but I do want to mention it now because I do feel it is very useful. If you use a lot of third-party connectors, you can go in and see exactly what the system is pulling in number of transactions, if there's any errors, if anything's erroring out. So it just gives you a lot of confidence in like, oh, I can see my bill transactions are posting, or oh, my point of sale system is pulling in information. It just gives you the assurance if I ever was curious if something was wrong, I can go in there and see the actual API usage. So that's also a very neat report to look at.
Yeah, when Sage Intacct rolled out the performance tiers for API usage, there was a lot of concern about, oh my God, what tier am I going to end up in, or am I going to have to pay for my API usage? And having this screen really creates a lot of assurance, because like to get it out of the $0 tier 1, you'd have to clear a threshold. I mean, you would have over 100,000 API calls per month. And looking at this API usage, we can see for each of our clients that nobody's anywhere near 100,000 calls per month. But in looking at it, we're also finding that there are some API calls that they don't want to have happening. So it gives them a chance, gives you a chance to go in and look at what that usage is, and perhaps reduce some API calls that are unnecessary in your systems. And we've also heard both in the community chat and occasionally on a support ticket that there's problems with emails getting through when sending from the Sage Intacct servers. And that has to do with a lot of spam filters that are matching domains and senders. And this DKIM protocol that we can now enable in your Sage Intacct system will allow you to send from your own domain through Sage Intacct, because it authenticates the domain in advance. And that's super helpful. The ability to send emails directly out of Sage Intacct and have them get through and know that you have confidence in sending those emails is really valuable. There is some setup required to get this going, but we're happy to help you with it. If it's not complicated, but if you do want any help, you can just reach out to us here at Sensiba.
And now we have the availability of viewing the original source document within the line item on a specific order entry transaction or purchasing transaction. So you can see here, if I click into my row to view more detail, I now have the source document ID with a link directly to it. I have the originating document ID as well. So take it all the way back, and a link right to it as well. So that is something that if you're curious where the transaction came from, or you need to go back and look at these, very useful to be able to have that information right at your fingertips. I just keep seeing more and more. If you click on a specific transaction, you can be able to see where else it's been in the system. So things it's come from, like the credits applied screen, like right on the transaction itself, a new tab. So it's really, I think it's really great that we're seeing basically an expansion of information right on the transactions themselves.
Yeah, and I like that this is in the detail of the line item because sometimes depending on how complex your advanced workflows are, um, it may not be clear just looking at the header history where a specific line item came from. So this takes you from the line item in the document you're looking at to the line item in your originating document. So super valuable, particularly if you're chasing down inventory sources or uses. And then in the user roles, they've just simplified this input. So now when you're setting up a new user, right there on the user page, along with that person's financials permissions and user type, you can now see exactly what roles they're assigned. So it's not in a separate tab. And of course, we always encourage our clients to use roles rather than just assigning permissions directly to users, because it just makes all of this permission management so much more coherent and simple in the long run. And if you are currently not using roles and you would like to see what it would take to use them, it's not a big lift, and we'd be happy to walk you through that. There
Yeah,
is yeah, go ahead, Michael.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's great for any turnover, or you want to hire a new person and you want to copy someone's access rights because you added on a new staff accountant. It's as
Yeah.
easy as assigning the staff accountant role rather than having to go in and painstakingly make sure that you match permissions to your other staff accountant. So you're not utilizing it. It's very useful.
What about that contact name, Michael?
Oh yeah, let's actually talk about that. So just a little bit of a helpful tip. Had a few clients that have been having issues with the new way that the contact name is formatted in the system. If I were going in and adding a new user in this contact name, I have to create it. But one of the required fields that is missing is this primary email address. So when I'm filling this out for the first time, it doesn't require me to have this primary email address, though I do have it out here. And I've had instances where the system is not automatically picking that up. So I would have it here on my user, but it'd be missing in the contact name section. And I've had a few users have issues to where this is called login issues, called email delivery, email send issues. So that's just one thing that you want to make sure if anything's buggy with that, if you're having any issues, just go ahead and check and make sure that you have the contact name email section filled out. Because like I said, it's not required, should be. Kind of how I recommend to all the clients that we're implementing with, always include a quick start category on your GL account. It's not required, but if you miss it, you can have some problems with your out of box reports. So one of those things that I think should be noted, just make sure you have the email address in there because it's not required, but could cause issues.
Yep. Thanks.
So today we covered contracts, the new availability of pausing and resuming at mass, and then the availability of the contract dimension for revenue management clients, automated PO matching, accounts payable, credits feature enhancements, the usage insights report, the DKIM enhanced email delivery protocol availability in Sage, the original source documents right on your line items in purchasing and order entry, and then also some user role and permission updates. So once again, that's not the full list.
Not even close.
Yeah, we're going to show you the full list here in a second. It's pretty long.
Well, the full list is quite long. We always go through and cherry pick the things that we think are most relevant. But here are some more R3 items that maybe our clients don't have them, but maybe you would like to know about. If you were using Sage Intelligent Time to create timesheets in Sage, that is, Sage Intelligent Time is included with time and expense or product costing. Now the AI within that Sage Intelligent Time can generate activity descriptions using predictive text. And so we'll add descriptions to what you were doing when it's filling out your timesheet for you, which is pretty cool. For organizations that have document sequencing, such as invoicing or journal entries or whatever document sequences you use, you can elect to have those roll over and restart at the beginning of a new fiscal year now. For companies who are using the Bank Transaction Assistant, which came out release 1 or release 2 of this year, and that's been really well received. They've expanded some of the file formats, so you can now use a BAI2 and CAMT053 protocols or file formats. I don't know what those are. They're Canadian though, so I think that they'd be helpful for anybody who's got a Canadian bank account. And that will just speed those imports into Sage Intacct if you don't have the Sage Banking Cloud available for an account. They're starting to roll out OCR and AI-driven employee expense automations. So from any device, you will be able to scan receipts and get those to create automatic entries in a reimbursement expense report. So that's still in the early stages, but it is released, coming out this release tomorrow. And then on the add-on side, for medical practices that have EMR Connect for their medical records, there's new enhancements to that EMR Connect tool. For organizations managing affordable housing, there is now a connector to Kanza, which is the sort of gold standard for affordable housing management software. That is an early adopter for US customers only at this point. For customers who have ICRW, the Interactive Custom Report Writer, there are now new sets of reports available for both order entry and purchasing, with a lot of cool features and visibility in those. And then with Sage Intacct Forms and Automation, there's new templates rolled out this quarter with the ability to automate and customize your client onboarding, a customer portal, and to manage vendor contracting. So check all those things out in the release notes, and Michael will show us how to navigate to that.
Yeah, so if you're new to the Intacct system and you're new to quarterly releases, or maybe you've just never actually thought about the quarter releases and you just use the system, we can cover how you can actually find those release notes. So we have a very helpful hyperlink in our document here, but we also can just go to our homepage in Sage Intacct itself. And right here, typically one of the first things you'll see is the release notes. Now this does get updated as a new release is coming out. So a little bit in advance, you will see it switch to the new release. But if you're ever curious, you can click right in here and read the release notes. Now it's going to automatically default to the current release. In this section over here, you'll see that we have all the R3 release notes, and I could keep scrolling and scrolling, and there's lots of notes. But they also break it down into sections. So if I'm concerned with what's changed in financials and maybe accounts payable, I can click into that and I'll be able to see information only pertaining to that. Also, if you're just curious what's been on some prior releases, or maybe you missed one, you can always click down here and you can see we have access to release 2, release 1 of 2024, and then back to all the way back to 2022. So you can see the system changes quite a ways back there. Also, I just also like to mention on our home screen, just note some other resources that you have access to, such as hyperlinks for Intacct Community, which is a great place to see if you're having any issues in the system, if anyone else is having an issue, or if you have an idea of like a change you'd like to see in the system. There is an idea section out there. So go ahead and add your idea out there. If other people think it's great, they'll upvote it. And typically the things with the most updates get changed in Sage. So
yeah,
definitely, if you have a great idea or a pain point that you'd like to see changed about the system, be vocal about it. Go out there and share that with the world. And then also,
yeah, then get your friends to vote for it.
yeah,
It is a community. You can
or open up your Zoom chat with your Intacct team and tell everyone to vote for it.
yeah.
That's what we do. So also just resources, Intacct help. That's the first place I always start if I ever have a question in the system is just go to help. Like if you're having issue with like applying a credit, maybe just go type in applying a credit and it'll find it for you. And then also just real quick, a feature that I think is very unique and I like a lot is the help on this page. So if you've never used that, I definitely like help on this page. It takes into account what page you're on, and then it automatically is going to say, oh, he's on the bill screen. He's probably looking for information on bills. So I can come into bills, tells me how to create a bill, setting up a recurring bill. So definitely be
And there's
aware
related
of
topics on the bottom right.
Yeah.
I always use those too. So
It's very helpful. So I always like to mention that. And then also, we typically know, 2025 is not out yet, but we still do know when the quarter releases are happening. Happens around the same time, but we have, release 3 rolling out tomorrow, August 9th, and then release 4 we can look forward to on November 8th. Now, this is also something that you don't have to do anything. It will roll out automatically to everyone's system. So once again, if you're new to the releases, you don't have to do any form of system updating. Everyone's on the same version, and we can expect to see that tomorrow.
yeah, and sometimes even, there's a new feature or functionality. The only thing that what you need to know is that you need to go give yourself or your employees permissions for whatever that new feature is. So it'll show up in the permissions list for the roles that you have under management.
Absolutely.
Well, once again, we have enjoyed sharing with you some of our favorite features in the newest release of Sage Intacct coming out tomorrow. If you have any questions about how to activate this, how to join the early adopter program, or how to configure your DKIM email protocols, just reach out to Michael or myself or anybody else on our Sage Intacct team, and we're here to help you at Sensiba. Thanks again for coming today.